Techo Tuesdays. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Techo Tuesdays. That is Technology Tuesday, where I try to tell you guys about a bit of technology that exists out there. I'm not going to explain much of it. Today, we're going to be talking about automobile autonomous safety tech. So, that is safety technology around automobiles, vehicles, cars, whatever. I'm going to be talking about things that are autonomous. I'm saying that because, if you think about something like the brakes, these are things that help you with safety. You see a wall, you're about to go into it, drive into it, you slam on the brakes, you stop. It's a safety feature. You're safe. Driving, you see a tree, you turn your steering wheel, you swerve, you avoid the tree, you're safe. It's a safety feature. But I don't want to talk about those things that you actively use to ensure your safety. I want to talk about the things that the car has, or some cars have, that help you be safe, help keep you safe, help keep you alive. I guess starting off with something less technical, but you'll probably see the importance of this as I explain is, of course, the body of the car. Now, consider this. Before we had the bodies of the car, we had carts, I guess. Yes, maybe they were driven by engines, but they were just like wooden, probably carts or whatever. And before that, we probably had carts that were pulled, driven by ox or by oxen or by horses. And before that, I guess we're just riding on the oxen or the horses themselves. And if another oxen crashes into you while you're riding on one ox, if another ox crashes into you while you're riding on an ox, best be sure you're going to suffer some damage because you don't have any protection around you. So that is where the body comes in. The body of the car helps it be the first protective layer around you to protect you from hailstone, protect you from a tree, protect you from snake bites, maybe if the snake is just outside there. And if a motorbike comes and crashes into you, I think we all see that the motorbike is going to be, the guy on the motorbike or the girl on the motorbike is going to be in more trouble than you're going to be in the safety of your body, the windows, the glasses, all that stuff. So that's the first layer of protection that we have. Going into the car, then, we have the seat belt, probably the most popular safety feature we have. Of course, you do fasten the seat belt yourself, but the seat belt from there on works on itself. You don't control, you don't tell it, okay, hold me now, I'm about to crash. No, it just works mechanically, generally it's mechanically, to know when to hold you in the case of an impact. I don't want to go into the details of how each of these things work because if I do, it's going to take forever for us to finish. But essentially, the seat belt holds you into your seat to prevent you from crashing your head onto the steering wheel in front of you or crashing some of your body parts onto the steering wheel in front of you, therefore breaking some of your bones. And ultimately, it prevents you from shooting out through the windscreen in the event of an accident, of course. Now, there's various types of seat belts. The seat belt we most commonly have is the 3-point seat belt, the one we have in our cars. There are others that they have in racing cars and all that stuff, but that's not very important. The main thing is a seat belt is a safety feature. Now, there's arguments out there that you are sometimes safer not wearing a seat belt than when you are. Of course, that is true. However, statistically, more people have been saved for having had their seatbelts on than those who have been saved for not having their seatbelts on. So statistically, you're more likely to be saved when you're wearing a seatbelt. So please do wear your seatbelt. The next thing we're going to talk about is airbags. Now, an airbag is something that you have in the car that pumps up like a balloon and then acts as a cushion between you and the hard surfaces of the car. So in the case that maybe you're not fastening your seatbelt or maybe your seatbelt fails or whatever, you're probably going to hit your head on the steering wheel and you can suffer very serious damage from that. But if there's an airbag, the blow is going to be cushioned by that airbag. So you may not suffer as much as severe damage as you would have suffered had there been no airbag. Now, some might be thinking, hey, if I'm driving at 100 kilometers per hour and I hit on something, I'm too close to the steering wheel. In what time, in what space, okay, space, that's a lot of space, but in what time is this airbag going to pump up before I hit the steering wheel? This happens very fast. But the airbag actually pumps up much faster than that. In any second, your camera, the camera on your phone, has taken a couple of shots, of frames, of pictures when recording a video. It's capable of doing that. A couple of them, not once, a couple of them. And in that short space of there's actually a lot of time within that short space of time for something to happen. There's a lot of time for us for your phone to take a lot of pictures. There's also a lot of time for your airbag to blow up before you actually get to impact the steering wheel. It happens really fast, faster than you can probably comprehend, because we're not really trained to think that fast, but it's really fast. But anyway, let's now next come to safety features. Okay, safety features in and around the drivetrain of a vehicle. Now, the drivetrain is the stuff that makes the car move and, of course, stop. So, we're going to first talk about ABS, which is the anti lock braking system. I don't know why it's not called ALBS, but it's whatever. ABS. What this does is that, so when you're driving and you slam on the brakes real hard, the brakes stop the wheels from turning. They try to stop the wheels from turning so that the car itself stops turning. However, it has been investigated, it has been proven that if the wheels lock up and they stop rotating, the car then slides because of the inertia that it has. It will keep on sliding. And that sliding, when it does that, is less effective than actually rolling and slowing down while rolling. So the ABS avoids the wheels from actually locking up and giving that thing. It ensures that your wheels keep rotating, but they're slowing down so that the car comes to a stop much sooner than the car would come to a stop if there was that squeaking, skidding stuff happening. Because what that means is that you've defeated the force of friction that is happening, that you exist between the surface and the tires of the wheel. And if and if it's locked, because you've defeated it, you'll just keep on going without stopping. Well, of course, you'll stop at some point because the friction still exists, but you've overcome that friction force and you'll stop much later than if you have not overcome that friction force and you're able to use all of it. Let me not get too technical. We then have EBD, which is the electronic brake force distribution. You're probably going to hear these things if you look around your car, if you listen to stuff about your car. Maybe the salesman probably told you about it. Yeah, this car has ABS, EBD, PDC, ESC, level 3, FSD, blah, blah, blah. Sometimes it's all just crap, but these is essentially what these things do. Now, EBD, what that does is it distributes the force of braking across the vehicle. I might have to do this across 2 episodes because it seems like I'm taking way too long to explain these, but I hope I get to do them within this time. So imagine a situation where you're braking real hard, but then the left side of your wheels is on the gravel. It's off of the tarred road. It's not on the gravel or whatever surface that you have on the left side of the road, and the right side of wheels are on the road. Now, when you slam hard on the brakes, all of the wheels are going to brake. Okay, of course, the front wheels exert more braking force than the rear wheels, but let's just say all of them brake. Let's just keep it simple here. When all of them brake, the wheel if the ABS kicks in, right, and it prevents the wheels from just locking, the friction force on the gravel on the left is much less than the friction force that you have on the tarred road. So the wheel on the left is more likely to lock up and just through the road, through the gravel, sorry. Whereas this one is less likely to do that because the surface it is on is optimized for braking and friction and traction. So what you then need to have is your car to understand that I cannot send the same amount of braking force to these wheels. I need to send a bit more braking force to that wheel that has more stability, more traction. So that's what it does. That's what the electronic brake force distribution system does for you. It sends more braking force to the wheel that needs it the most, to the wheel in which it is more needed. Hectic. And then we'll now move on to the things that have to do with vision. Of course, we need to be able to see the hazards that lie on the road that exist around us. So the windscreen becomes very, very necessary when it comes to this. Yes, of course, I may have covered this when I was talking about the body, but hear me out, hear me out, hear me out. The windscreen and the helmets and the glasses for bikers and whatever, they help you so that you don't get bees or flies or whatever things getting into your eyes or hitting your face, because that can distract you. You're driving them, no, you just get out of the way. And of course, it's not a very high tech thing. It's just a windscreen. But I'm just saying it does without you controlling it, it does sort of aid in the safety of the people within the car. So I just thought it deserves it. It deserves a mention. Another thing we'll talk about here is the headlight. Now, headlights are very important. It's important that you be able to see other people in the head in the road, people, cars, whatever hazards are there, and that's why you need to have your headlights on at night, especially from dusk, because at dusk the lighting is a little iffy. That you can't see some cars, but you can see some. And picture this. This happened to me once. I'm driving. It's dusk. I have my lights on. I'm good. I'm a good citizen. I have my lights on. So I'm about to overtake. I get into the oncoming lane because I don't see any car, and I start driving. And then I realize there's a flipping car coming my way. Why didn't I see this car? Because the guy don't have his lights on. He thinks, well, it's not very dark yet. I can still see. What he doesn't understand is that other people may not be seeing you. Of course, maybe that speaks to my eyesight, but still, his car was dark. Well, maybe it was a she. I don't know. Their car was dark, and when I checked, I didn't see anything. So I went in and I started moving, and then suddenly I see, oh flip, there's actually a car here. But it was a safe distance away, and I was able to finish up the overtaking safely. I mean, here I am, so great. But I'm just saying that having your lights on is not necessarily about you seeing, it's also about other people seeing you. And that helps you be safe, because a vehicle that could be coming up from whatever direction that does not see you because your lights are off is less likely to crash into you if your lights were on, because they can see, oh, those are lights, that's a car right there, or those are lights, that's a bicycle or a motorbike. But that's what lights are. Sometimes you might have seen some bikers, not motorcyclists, just cyclists, bicyclists, with this flashing thing on their car and on the bicycle, and thinking, what effect does that have? What it has is that they are able to be seen, and that is what it helps with. I'll also talk about reflectors. So when I was talking about lights, I'm not talking about just about the front lights. I'm also talking about the rear lights, the tail lights, as they call them. It's very important to be seen from back there. But also sometimes you find yourself in a situation where your car's battery has died, you can't move, there's nothing you can do, you can't even have your hazards on, and it's night, and you're parked on the side of the road. And it's very important that you have a reflector triangle, that warning triangle, put safely at a safe distance far behind your car. But it's also quite important that you see now a lot of cars have implemented having reflective surfaces on the rear of your car. What that does is that even if you're stranded on the side of the road, there's no battery, your battery has died, so you can't have your hazards on, and your car is black, so it's very, very hard to see in the dark. The headlights of the car, of the oncoming car, are going to reflect on those reflectors on your car, and they are going to be able to see that there's a car there, there's a hazard there, and they might want to drive carefully, heeding the presence of you. If you think about this, larger cars in South Africa are expected to have reflector strips around them, and even on the back of them they have this, they call it a chevron. It's like a yellow reflective bar with these sort of like red lines that sort of seem like they're forming some type of arrow. Those things are important for other people to be able to see that thing. Imagine you're driving and there's a truck that stopped right in front of you. Maybe its lights aren't working for whatever reason, and you crash into it. And you're driving a nice little car. It's not going to end well for you. The driver in the truck is not going to feel much. He's going to be safe. But you and your life, not so much. So it's important not only to see, but to be seen. And that's why these large cars have these reflectors, so that we can see them. And that's why our cars also tend to have reflectors, so that other people can see us. And that's why we should keep our lights on during the fog, during heavy fog and mist, in dark time. Even if it's not very dark, the moment it starts being dusk, the moment the sun starts to set, just turn your lights on, be on the safe side. You don't know what the other person sees. Maybe the sun is in their eyes and they don't really, just keep your lights on, be safe. Finally, I'm going to move on to more advanced features. I think I might finish this within this video. I'm going to talk first about PDC, that is Park Distance Control. May not seem like much of a life-saving feature, safety feature, because what this is the stuff that goes beep 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 when you're getting closer to a wall or to some surface or to something during parking. So you're parking and you're reversing. They're actually called sensors. We call them reverse sensors, or whatever, but they're actually technically called PDC, Park Distance Control. So as you move closer, there's radars there that are sending signals out. And if signals are bouncing off on the surface, they're able to tell you that, hey, you're getting too close to something here. Now, of course, if you just parking in your garage and you slightly hit your garage, you're not going to suffer any damage. But consider this: you're reversing in a place and there's a kid, a little baby back there. You don't see him or her, but the PDC is able to sense that there's something here. I don't know what it is, but there's something. So just stop. You're getting too close to this thing. If you did not have the PDC, you just simply reverse on top of that baby because you're looking at your mirrors, you're looking at the rear view, and you don't see anything. But the PDC helps to be that extra layer of securities, extra layer of safety to say, is there any hazard on the way? Now, maybe this does not save your life, but it most certainly does save the life of the baby. There's been a couple of babies that have been killed, maybe a lot more that I've just never heard about, that have been killed because of a lack of this. So I do think it is important that I do mention a PDC, even if it does not particularly save the person inside the car, but it may help save the lives of people around you. Of course, we have stuff like blind spot monitoring. What that is maybe some of you will have noticed when you're driving past the car, maybe even the cars that you drive, on the mirror, there's like an orange light that lights up and then it turns up. Not the indicator, just on the mirror, just lights up and like, what the heck is that? What that is a monitor that is looking at the blind spot. Now, the blind spot of a vehicle is the part of the vehicle that you're less likely to see when you're driving through your rear view mirrors because they're not very comprehensive. There are certain spots that they sort of miss. So if something is in that spot, this now blind spot monitor tells you that, hey, there's something there. So don't just switch lanes here. This system uses the park distance control sensors to know if there's something within these blind spots. And it saves you a lot because when something is in your blind spot, you'll check your mirror and be like, okay, it's safe for me to indicate, and you indicate. But then this guy or this girl might be indicating towards you because they didn't see that you're also about to indicate. And you guys might be converging into the same lane. And then you converge into the same lane at the same time, into the same space. You guys are going to be occupying the same space, and physics doesn't like that. Physics is not going to be happy with you guys being in the same space at the same time, and then this is not going to end very well for you guys. So, just blind spot monitoring saves lives, a lot of lives. I've seen in many cases, I'm trying to indicate, I'm trying to get into a certain lane, and I see the person in front is also doing the same thing. If you're the person in the back, do realize that the person there does not see you. You see them because they're in front of you, but you are behind them. So they do not see you. So you should be the one to try and evade that. Maybe it's an obvious thing, but I think a lot of people don't realize that. So just please be wary. Don't expect that guy in front of you, even if they're driving a less fancy or a more fancy car than you are, just if they're switching and you are switching at the same time, just wait for them to switch and finish, and then you'll go in behind them. Just be careful of that. I guess I must mention the reversing camera as well. I guess if you don't have the park distance control, you would be able to see a little baby back there if you're reversing onto him or her. So shout out to the the rear camera. We also have pre-collision systems. Now, pre-collision systems are things that sort of help you not get into collisions. So they're constantly monitoring the surroundings so as to say, okay, now we're driving way too fast for that tree that is ahead of us. So let us try and stop. So they jump in and maybe apply some brake, depending, of course, on the car, whether it has this technology or not. But they can apply some brakes and they can help you stay in the lane and they can check you to ensure that you're not sleeping. So we have all these things as part of the pre-collision system. So you have a radar in front of your car that monitors the objects that are in front of your car, and it calculates the amount of distance, the amount of time it will take you to reach those cars, and the distance that you are not cars necessarily, but objects and whatever, and tries to ensure that whatever you're driving, your driving behavior seems to be consistent with the existence of these things. So if it sees that there's an object here that is slowed down, but you don't seem to be slowing down enough to avoid that object. It's going to apply more brake force so that you don't crash or collide into that object. You also have lane keep assist that also just helps you stay in your lane, so that you don't swerve and find yourself getting into the space of a truck, sharing space with a truck, which again physics would not like. There's sleep monitoring, like there's certain devices that look at your face and ensure that you don't feel drowsy or fall asleep and then, start crashing into other people, of course. I think that covers all that I could think of. There's probably more stuff, but that's really all that I could think of. And these are the things that help keep you safe on the road. I guess if you have a fancy car, because less fancy cars have less of these things, but a lot of cars do have some of these things. I think I may have forgotten to mention traction control. Traction control, let me just quickly say it because now it's getting way too long. Traction control helps send, so the similar thing to what EBD does, brake distribution. This distributes the power of your engine. So if it feels that there's more traction is your grip on the road. If it feels that there's more grip on a certain side, on a certain tire, like if there's more grip on the right hand wheel and less grip on the left hand side wheel, it is going to send more power to the right hand side wheel. So that is the one that propels you forward. Now, it might sound like, okay, but then you're talking about propelling forward. How does that help you in safety? Consider you're in a corner, you're about to turn, but you're doing it too quickly and you're starting to lose grip and you're starting to slide. One of the wheels will have more grip than the other. You don't want the one with less grip to have more power, because once you add more power to that, it's gonna start slipping. So you want to send more power to the wheel that has more grip, and that will grip even more and help grip even more. Somehow that's how that works. I'm not really sure how. The physics is there. You can go search it, but it grips even more and it helps you exit the corner or exit the curve or maneuver around objects much safer because it sends the power to the wheel that has more traction. What traction control also does, which is not really a safety feature, but I'm just trying to get you to understand what it does. If you taking off real quickly and your wheel starts spinning, but your car isn't moving, traction control will cut off the power because while we're spinning around, we're just wasting tire and wasting petrol for no reason. Let's slow it down, get traction, and start moving, and then we're going. That's what traction control does, but it does come into play as well in keeping you safe. I'll stop here.